It's the only person below White Holiday in the ComicsGate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sammetti. The YouTube WyzGyz. How you doing, Conrad? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host, Wyman. We are joined today by our awesome guest, John Hervey. How's it going?
Oh, well, Wyman, how about you, man?
Oh, good. It's been a little bit since we last had you on here.
Yeah.
For those of you, for those out there who are kind of new and just meeting you for the first time, would you mind taking a moment and just kind of briefly going over your origin story? You know, how you grew up and what you were into, and how those things you dug led you to an interest in comics, and eventually releasing your own book.
Yeah, definitely. You can't. You got to have your own origin story. Every hero's got to have an origin story, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I got into comics. When I got into comics to kind of age myself, comics were available. It wasn't just the direct market. You could get comics at the local drugstore, and that's how I got introduced to comic books. At the time, the cartoons that were running were the Super Friends. They were running, and they were showing reruns of the 1960 something Spider-Man comics or cartoons, and they would show those old Marvel cartoons from the 60s, like the animatic ones, like the Avengers and Captain America and Submariner, the righteous Submariner, and all those, and Thor and all those good ones, Iron Man. So I was aware of who those characters were, but the funny thing was I had no idea that they came from comics. So when I would go to the drugstore with my mom, I was aware of those heroes. So I'd pick up Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman. At that point, I hadn't put, one and one together. I didn't realize that the Super Friends were just kind of like a watered down version of the Justice League. So I didn't realize that it was the Justice League. Those heroes. Because I would look, I'm like, well, there's no Super Friends comic book, So pick up Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman, or I pick up Spider-Man. And then one day, went to, first of all, it started off with one rack at the place where we used to go, Webster's Drugstore. Then they expanded to 2 racks. So, I mean, back in the day, that was a lot of comics. I mean, like don't go to 7-Eleven across the street. They only had 1 rack. Webster's Drugstore had 2 racks of comics. And you probably only had enough money to buy 2 comics. So you're just really looking through the rack. You're really trying to find the books. A buddy of mine started picking up Daredevil, and I was like, okay, that looks cool. But I picked up this one book and had this giant Crusher Creel on it. He was on a freighter, a steel freighter. He had absorbed the power of the freighter, so he was big like King Kong. He's holding up Miss Marvel. And this is the good Miss Marvel, not the one that they got going on today. and the thing I didn't realize, this was her first appearance in an Avengers book. So it was Miss Marvel, Iron Man was attacking Crusher Creel, the Beast was attacking Crusher Creel, and the Vision. And I was like, this looks cool. I don't know half of these guys, but this looks really cool. So I picked up the book and I read it and I loved it. I read it multiple times. At that point, I didn't realize the art was by John Byrne. So, who would go on to be one of my favorite artists of all time. And it was just a really compelling story. And I professed to my mom, I said, I am now a comic book collector. This was like at dinner time. And she's like, that's good, baby. Finish your greens, finish your vegetables. I'm like, wait, I'm making like a profession here. She's like, that's good, baby. You just finish your food. So that's where it went from being just something that I would pick up here and there when I would go with my mom to the drugstore, to I've got to go every week because I didn't understand how the schedule was working, but I knew the comics were coming out on a monthly basis, but I didn't know when the next Avenger book was coming out. I didn't know when, so it's like every week you got to go, you know, and you got to make sure that, you know, because back then, if you missed, you missed. If the books came off the rack, you know, we didn't find out until later, oh, you can go to some bookstores, and some bookstores would hold old, you know, would have old issues. I mean, you know, there wasn't the power of the internet back then for someone to say, hey, guy, you could just go to this bookstore and they've got all these old issues. For us, it's like, if it's on the rack, if you missed it, you missed it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so.
It's cool that there were two racks, two spinner racks.
Oh, man.
Did you, was it one of those things where, since you were really wanting to go every week, that there was always plenty to read and check out because you can only get or afford to get a couple books at a time?
Yeah, so I mean, we would literally spend like chunks of the afternoon there, and the guy was cool. He knew we were going to buy something, but like we would sit there and we would read books because you got to figure out which one you're bringing home. So my buddy started collecting Daredevil, so then I would read his Daredevil. I started collecting Avengers, and I also like Batman. So, you know. And then I would pick other books if we go there on a week. And I had, you know, at the time, it's gonna sound crazy, that Avenger book was 35 cents. You know, so if I could get a buck off of my mom, I could get a couple books and maybe some candy. You know, so
Yeah.
hey, you know, in a different day and age, that's for sure. But yeah, that was how I just came to love comic books, and just your imagination runs wild when you're reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you're filling in everything in between the frames that you see. You're filling it all in as you're reading it, and it was just the best experience. And you know, the books were so wild because my friend would also collect Fantastic Four, and Fantastic Four was crazy, man. I mean, every issue, they were going somewhere crazy. I mean, they're in the negative zone. They're in Latveria. I mean, like, things you just couldn't do. You know, I mean, like, there was no budgetary constraints. They just do whatever they want to do. It's like, okay, well, you know, they're going to go fight Dr. Doom, and then they're going to go fight Galactus all in one issue. You know, they're going to go to the negative zone, but then Ben needs to be back because he has to do something with Alicia. So, you know, then, you know, you're back in New York. You know, so I mean, the fact that it was so unconstrained, I love that about comic books. And the fact that you literally didn't know, not only did you not know what the adventure was going to be like, you had no idea where in the universe you were going to be when you picked up a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I absolutely love that about just about comic books back in the day. So to this day, still my favorite medium. I think it's when it's done well, when it's done properly, it's the perfect blend between, you know, being artistic, providing a great story, and giving you input. You know, because you have input even as you're reading the stories. You know, you're reading a book and I'm reading a book, but you have, if you're reading any book, what does Wolverine sound like to you? You know, I remember the first time I saw Wolverine on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And me and my friend were like, that's what he sounds like? That's not what he sounded like in my head. You know, but actually I think Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends probably had a more true rendition of what Wolverine would have sounded like than any other show. Because, I mean, I think they gave him kind of like a French-Canadian kind of a vibe.
Like a Gambit?
No, because that's more like Creole.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, they gave him more of like the Canadian, and it was so he had like a little bit more of like a Canadian kind of accent to him. But it was cool, man. You know, so I mean, we loved comics, man. You know, and that was kind of, and this is when comics weren't cool. You know, you didn't want to, you know, it wasn't cool to like comics back in the day. So we all kind of found each other, you know, kind of like the dudes that like comic books, and
right.
You know, you end up going to the drugstore, and then later on, pretty soon they developed the direct market. So then a comic shop opened up a couple miles away. So we would go on Fridays. We would just walk walk a few miles, go to the comic shop, got your little bit of money from the week, pick up some books. And this comic book store was called Book Village. And this place was like, dude, it was like going to Disneyland every Friday. Book Village was magic because it was a bookstore, but the whole front of the bookstore were racks and old books. So old comic books. So then they would have books and magazines, but when you first came into the store, there were racks, and this is the first time like I saw like a wooden rack. So they had like the spinny racks, but they had so many comics that they had a wooden rack against the wall.
Oh, okay.
And then they had shelving where you could go and you could find old issues. Man, Comic Book Village was, that was amazing. That was like our Disneyland.
Were they doing long boxes at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, at that point, that's when all that stuff got introduced to us. It's like long boxes. Yeah, keep your books here. What? I don't have to have them like streaming out of my drawer and trying to stack them nicely and in different parts of the house. I got some under my bed and I got some in the closet. So all this it was like just an amazing time. And this was in the 80s and the books were amazing and we were just enjoying the whole creative process. So many new things were happening. I can remember going and picking up books, and I remember my buddy and I, we picked up the first New Mutants #1, and we looked at each other and like, man, we've got our own version of the X-Men now. It didn't quite pan out that way, but that's what we thought, because we were like, hey, the X-Men came out in the 60s. We started picking up the books. It was already 100 and something, and actually my buddy was a big X-Men guy. I was more of a big Avenger guy, but it's like, hey, this is like the up and coming X-Men. So we were so excited, and it was a well written book. Just so many good books, man. And you could tell there was so much love, that was really, invested in the stories, and man, what a great time. And then you hit the mid 80s and comic books it was a revolution. Crazy stuff we'd never seen before started happening. It's like the death of Robin, man, that like hurt on the inside, even though it wasn't executed like when you read it, you're like, really, that's what you're gonna do to kill Robin? Just a crowbar and then explode? Really, that's it? But just doing that was just like so gut wrenching. And then reading The Dark Knight, and then so many epic stories that came out in that time. Watchmen, and it just blew my mind. And I was like, you can do absolutely anything in comics. And also back then, there were a lot of non-superhero books too that I would pick up. Like I would pick up like All Out War, because it was like, there were so many cool comics that you could pick up comics on anything. And I love picking up Conan. Mm-hmm. Just because Conan he's a barbarian, he's a beast. So just what an amazing time. And that's
lead you to getting into did that lead you getting into try and get into the industry and doing your own art and
at that point I was just enjoying the comics. And I'll tell you what gave me the fever to be in the industry myself. I always wanted to be in, but I didn't really think there really was a way in. And then Image appeared. And that changed everything. It changed everybody's mentality. That it's like, you can actually be a creator. And you don't have to be from New York, because you got to realize at this time, everyone that was making comics pretty much were in New York. DC and Marvel at that time were in New York. And almost all the stories happened in New York. So it's like there wasn't a lot of production going on for comics outside of New York. And maybe there were some smaller indie books, but like DC and Marvel were both out of New York, and all those creators, all those guys were in New York. And then all of a sudden Image pops on the scene, and Image at the time they opened up their location in California. So they were down near Anna in Orange County in California, and that was revolutionary. Mm. It wasn't on the East Coast, so this is these guys are on the West Coast, and then Turner, Michael Turner Studio was on the West Side. Top Cow was on the West Side in Los Angeles. And I ended up getting on board with Motown. They set up a company called Motown Animation, which is kind of a misnomer because all they made were comics. And the moniker was Motown Machine Works, and they were in Mid-Wilshire. So you had like Extreme Studios with Rob Liefeld and those guys in Orange County. You had Top Cow and Michael Turner's Aspen on the West Side in LA, and then kind of latecomers to the game, Motown. We were in Mid-Wilshire, and there were all of a sudden there's all these folks, on the West Side in the western part of the country that are making books, and now and that opened up the door for people to be anywhere, making their books. And once Image kind of opened the door in that regard, you realize that you really can, you really can produce, you really can be anywhere. And Eric said that he was introduced to comics with the death of Superman. That was a humongous event. I mean, that was pretty much. I mean, when they even decided they were going to do that, that was just like, what? How are you going to pull that off? And the thing is, whether you like how that was pulled off or not, I mean, that was groundbreaking. It was earth shaking. The whole concept. And those books were selling like hotcakes. And that was and the industry really became a speculative industry as well. So you have people buying books, but then people weren't just buying simply to read the books. There was 4 covers for every book. You got to have foil covers and blah, blah, and for every, all these different issues. And then you have people that aren't buying simply for reading, but they're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to read one and I'm going to buy another 3 for investment purposes that I'm not going to open. But the problem is, kind of the way supply and demand works, there was a whole bunch of supply and no demand.
Yeah.
So it didn't work as an economic model. We're all thinking like, those old books, can you imagine if we had amassed those old books? But that was the whole point. No one did. And those of us that had old books, we read them multiple times. So none of them were mint.
Yeah.
So if you can find a mint, whatever it is, you're not going to find a mint version of that because that wasn't the mindset back in the day.
Right.
People got comic books and they were on newspaper print. You got comic books for the sake of reading them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was
not investment.
There was a point, later in my comic collecting where I started to get a couple issues where I was trying to predict what the value might be down the road.
Yeah.
And I am pretty sure I still have like 2 to 3 copies of The Death of Superman in the black covered, black plastic where it conceals most of what's in there, and it comes with a black armband.
I had a black armband, man. I had the black.
Let me catch up on chat real quick. Eric, welcome. Welcome, Eric.
Eric's the man. Good to see you.
Here we go. Let's see here. Welcome, not my monkeys, not my circus.
Not my monkeys, not my circus. Good to see you.
Oh, and thank you again.
Oh, Dillard Draws in the house. John Dillard.
Oh, the Dillard Meister.
Yes.
Eric.
I'm looking forward to his book.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Buckler.
I was just watching the replay of EVS's stream, and he spent like 5 or 6 minutes, talking about the Buckler. Mrs. Dillard Draws was in chat and gave the heads up that is closing in an hour or so, hour and a half. And then so he took a moment to check it out, and that was pretty cool.
See, that's awesome, and that's so helpful. You know, and the thing is, I like, no fault of EVS because there's so many books, but I don't know if he knows how much fire is out there right now. There's so many good books. I mean, the Buckler, and I love that Buckler cover. He's got his tooth on the hood of of the cop car, and he's all smiling like he's in heaven, even though he's getting busted up. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know?
Eric says John Byrne is awesome. I have most of his Superman Man of Steel
Man,
run.
that Man of Steel run was money, and to me, that's why anyone that says that Superman is boring, they just haven't seen the right people write Superman. I loved that. I loved the Man of Steel run, and there were so many cool things that he was actually starting to do there that they never followed through on, because he started hinting to the fact, because like that Superman, you know, his greatest power was actually. I guess you would say he was almost like I don't know, is telekinesis the right word? But like he was basically the world's greatest mentalist. You know, I mean, how else could he hear a shot, right? Because by the time you hear the shot, the person will probably already be shot. But he actually he was throwing around the idea that like he was more of like a mentalist. You know, so everything he was doing was actually with the power of his mind. It was actually pretty cool. I really liked what he was doing with you know, it's all good, you know. For me, Superman though, at the end of the day, no matter how you play Superman, he has to be a Boy Scout. Because once you take Superman away from being a Boy Scout, he's scary. And he's just not somebody to cheer for anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why DC missed the mark on their version of Superman.
The funny thing is they already had the template. They tried to recreate basically what happened in Superman 2, but they totally missed the mark. The whole point is that Superman does not have a knockdown, drag-out battle in Metropolis because he's not going to let that many people die.
No,
He'd rather be seen as a coward, flying away, take the fight to the Fortress of Solitude. You know, he's not worried about his street cred, what he looks like. He's worried about keeping people safe. He's not going to have a knockdown, drag-out fight in Metropolis and, you know, have hundreds of thousands of people win. How's that a victory?
Right. That's true. Eric says there's no eBay back then.
No, man. There was no eBay, man. And I'll tell you, figuring out everything in the comic book culture was like, everything was kind of the hard way. You know, you went from like the spinner racks and we went to a bookstore and we realized, oh, there are bookstores that keep back issues. Oh, okay, so we can find these back issues. Then you start going on a hunt. You start calling bookstores. Man, it was crazy. Because, you know, I can absolutely remember, you know, going to the local drugstore, and a dude who I was playing soccer with, he was at the spinner rack, and I walked over there. I was like, "You collect comics too?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But you know, you got to keep the logo. So you know, you're like, everybody is just, you know, you got your comic book collectors, and we're all just kind of keeping it on the low, because there was always that kid at school who was like showing his books to everybody, and everybody was always dissing him. So we're just like, okay, just, you know what, just keep it on the low, because now it's cool. Everybody's like, hey, I love comics, and it's great, man. Back in the day, you know, it was oppressive, man. You had to keep your comic book thing, you know, going on the down low.
Yeah, so you didn't get stuffed into a locker or thrown in the garbage can.
Seriously, man.
I used to have in my area, we had the 7-Eleven that had its spinners. And then as soon as I heard about a local comic shop, I just exclusively started going there. And it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
I would go there, and eventually, after weeks of going there, I think I started dropping like $40 a week. Oh, yeah. That was in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a good time to be into comics.
Oh, big time.
Not my monkeys, not my circus says, you are an awesome dude.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Let's see here. Eric's a 90s baby, was introduced to comics with the death of Superman. Yeah, I knew that the death of Superman was a huge gimmick, but I partially bought into it because I thought, well, maybe if they did it right, the value of it would be worth a whole lot down the road.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think there's a lot of speculation, kind of in that regard. And that's kind of what, in any speculative market, whether it's comics or real estate or whatever, it eventually catches up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was like was it McFarlane Spider-Man where he had that famous cover?
Yeah, the one that everybody covers, copies.
Yeah, he's crouched down and he's got billions of webs behind him.
Yeah.
And they had like a gold variant, a silver variant, all these versions. I think there was even a black and white version. Welcome, Patrick Furtado. Good to have you. Eric says, a kid that had the self-control to not destroy Action Comics #1 is a damn saint.
I know.
Man, seriously. Action Comics #1. Oh, boy. That would be challenging.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
What up? Hello, John.
Yeah, I saw Eric was saying that the Buckler cover is Alex Ross quality, and that's real. That is real talk. I love that cover.
Dylan says, that was great because EBS don't listen to me. Yeah, like you said, or like you read, the Buckler covers Alex Ross quality. Yeah, I love his style, and I love Alex Ross's style. His greatest power is his super mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Superman is a benevolent figure, a Jesus-type character that is to be an example to aspire to.
Yeah, and my understanding is when Simon and Schuster created Superman, part of their inspiration was kind of like Moses. Moses is kind of like a foreshadowing of Christ. So I mean, he's supposed to be that kind of a character. He's supposed to be a character that inspires, but also the character that is going to do the right thing and that is going to try and lead people in the right direction. And once you take that away from people, think that's boring, but it's not. I mean, that's who Superman is. Right. And that's why when Superman and Batman are together, it works best when Superman is being who he is, Superman. Yeah. When they try to make Superman like Batman, it's too much. Then I guess you have whatever Justice League Dark and all this darkness or whatever. But
right.
Exactly. Not a fan. Don't mess with Superman, dude. Don't mess with Superman.
Right. Exactly. So you've got Magna, the Last Pantheon, Volume 1.
I think I'm gonna have to, like, when I get closer, I'm gonna have to see if John can have Miss Dillard Draws give a shout out over at EVS, because EVS don't listen to me either, John. Apparently he listens to your wife though. He knows authority when he hears it.
There you go. Yeah, I think part of the trick is to post a super chat, because the odds of him reading it are pretty high still. He does his best to read them all.
No, I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot.
And you have more chances of getting eyeballs on your project by doing a small super chat through him than you would to try and actually be a guest on his show.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think that's really the way to do it. Because, I mean, he's trying to be careful not to get himself stuck into inadvertently promoting a book that he doesn't have passion for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, of course, he's also promoting his books and the ones that he's helping publish through All Caps Comics.
Okay.
So, that on top of him actually having to deliver on his own books, it keeps him very busy. So he's not going to do a whole lot of streams with lots of guests and stuff.
That makes sense. But you know what? CG is awesome, though.
Yeah.
I mean, just I'm just really grateful for everybody that has backed the book. It's not a small deal. At least not to me. When I look at the backers and I'm like, wow, people that, say, you know what, I'm willing to, trust this guy, to get this project into my hands. It's a big deal. So I mean, I'm excited. I know it's a big responsibility. That's the reason why production is already completed on the book, so that people can have the confidence in knowing you're going to get the book in your hands.
Let's check out the trailer here.
Let's do that. Welcome to Tree City, Idaho. The year is 1942. Spring is in the air, but times are tense as the world finds itself at war. While high school senior Kari Skogsholm finds her provincial life unfulfilling, her parents are eager to keep their lives and, most importantly, their extraordinary daughter under the radar as long as they can. But time is not on their side. They prepare to flee to protect Kari, but something within her compels her to stay and take a stand. It's time to learn truths that have been kept from her, be it out of love or fear or something else. It's time to answer the calling upon her life, whatever that may be. So her journey begins, and things would never be the same. But Kari's story finds its roots millennia prior. The men of renown, known as the sons of God, and the daughters of men in the first and second heavens, joined with raised arms one last time, combining all the power that they had to command. In the heavens, above the world, the last stand of these mighty men was also the last appearance of the agents of destruction, until their reemergence in 1942. Kari must learn the truth about herself, determine the endgame of these supernatural agents of destruction, and how to stop them before all is lost. Yes, sir.
It's got a lot of information, especially story-wise. It's a lot to dig into. So that was the 10-minute animatic.
Yep. So there is, if you go to Beyond Time Inc. on YouTube, there's a 10-minute animatic that myself, Rob Looper, who did the pencils on the Black Tiger graphic novel, and a couple other artists, we came together and we put the animatic together. It's about a 10-minute animatic. Man, even making an animatic, even when you only have a couple cells a second, it's a lot of artwork. But we're able to do that and get voiceover, some folks to help us with voiceover work.
Hold on. All right, go ahead. You were saying? You
good?
Yep.
Yeah, and get some people to help us. So we got some great voiceover work and some music. So I mean, it was more of an experiment, but I don't doubt that it won't be that far off, that people will really find, and some people are already finding a lot of success with their comics, and I think that'll give them the platform to start delving into other things like that, like making animatic or even animation, with their own properties. The only way these things are going to get done well is if the people that actually created the projects make them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So with the animatic, were you able to use like software to try and facilitate in saving you time? I mean,
man, I hacked my way through the Adobe suite. But it's actually pretty user friendly.
Like software that involves any kind of animation, as I understand, I haven't really spent any time in it myself, but as I understand, you pick out major keyframes and then put them in sequential order, and then the software does all the math and calculates all the images leading from one frame to the next, and kind of fills in a lot of that artwork for you.
So I guess for like more of like a 3D, it may do that. I mean, for what I did, mine were just more like old school. It was just digital, but it's just cells.
All right.
So we just went, cells, and then I timed out how long I wanted each cell to run. So it was just a digital version of old school animation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that even that style, like back in the age of Toon Boom Studio, that 2D animation was also done like that, where if you're depicting someone walking down a street, and then you just do every fourth or fifth frame, and somehow the software does its best to fill in additional frames in between the first, second one that you created and provided.
Okay.
But
and see, I didn't really use an animation software per se.
oh, okay.
I just use one of the Photoshop, a couple of the Photoshop editing tools.
Oh,
so I just basically put in the cells and then ran them.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But I think what you're saying is probably a little bit more sophisticated, something worth looking into for sure.
So your campaign is in the funding stages. It's 1,313% of a $500 flexible goal. So you're definitely funded, which is really nice. You're at 6,565 USD, 163 backers. Pretty cool. It indicates 9 days left. Remind me again, are you doing is this like 9 days till you hit the first 30 days of funding, the second 30 days of funding?
So we're in the second 30. So this 9 days is it. And then once it's over, we will go in demand, but I'm going right to printing. So I'm really going to use kind of the numbers, some multiple of the numbers that we have, when the campaign closes, and that's what we're going to print.
All right.
And I'll keep the in-demand store open as long as I have books.
Okay. Were you planning on overprinting a certain amount, like some?
Yeah. Yeah, I plan to do some overprinting, and I haven't come to a ultimate decision on what that's going to look like. But I've spoken with a number of folks like Phil Diaz and a number of different people, and some folks will do double. They'll do double.
Wow.
What they get at the end of the campaign. And keep it in demand.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to do that many because I don't think my wife wants me turning these books into furniture in our apartment.
I think I've heard. Well, some creators in general seem to be somewhere between 10% to 25%. Over, so that they have plenty to cover any damages or missing in the mail kinds of books. And not everyone, but some creators like to keep a small stock of them for, their family.
Right.
For their family legacy. And that'll be cool that you're going in demand, and you'll be starting fulfillment shortly. That's
a whole different animal.
Are you guys self-fulfilling? Are you guys going to fulfill from your apartment, or? Yeah,
because man, with numbers like this, you got to do a multiple of this. I think if you're going to do fulfilling in a different way, the economics aren't there for me to be using a third party. To do the fulfillment. I want to be able to use, and one of the things, since production is done, I want to be able to use the funds from this to work on more Magna. So this is kind of telling me if people want to see more of the book.
Yep.
So if I get financing, which seems to be going in that direction, then I'm ready to start the next the next issues. And my intention, my desire is to be able to have the books done when the campaigns launch, and then people can just have the comfort of knowing that that's done, and then kind of how the campaign does tells me if we're going to continue or not.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Diller Draw says, just back, but I could only afford digital. I spent most of my fund budget on super chats.
I hear you.
I really like this comic, says What About. Welcome, What About. Love that image. How do you feel about selling the original art pages?
So, that is always ultimately the choice of the artist. The penciler on this book, he wasn't ready to do that, so he wanted to hold on to the pages. And I'm totally, you know what, that is the prerogative of the artist, so I'm not mad at that. Mm-hmm. So I just try to put it out there. I'm like, hey, there are folks out there that would love to buy some of this art, so I would be more than happy to make that available to people. But he wasn't ready for that, which is fine. So we kind of the compromise there, and it's not so much a compromise, because at the end of the day, I'm like, well, what do you feel comfortable doing? He's on the feature tier, doing the bust up drawing, pencil and ink of any character of a person's choice, and 7 of the 10 of those are already taken. So I'm hoping that we'll get all 10 of those sold. So it'll be some. He's a great artist. He's a great guy, and that'll be some great commission work for him as well. So so that's one of the things about being the writer and not the artist. You got to be flexible. You got to work with the artist on what they're willing to do, which I'm fine with.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I want to get the books in people's hands. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of other stuff other than the books. I have the books, there's some prints, and there's commissions that you can get. But other than that, that's pretty much the campaign. The campaign is really just I want folks to read the books and love the books.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Yeah, it's good that you're respecting the artist's decision. And I can understand why they'd not be ready, because, it's some good stuff.
No, I get it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an opportunity. And, if that's something they're comfortable with, then they should do it. But if an artist isn't comfortable and they're not in a position where they need to do that, then by no stretch of the imagination, would it be cool to try and put pressure on them to do that?
Right. If you were to come up with a percentage as to how far along you are in production, like pencils, inks, colors, lettering, what would that percentage be?
This book?
Yeah.
100. It's done.
Oh, it is done.
Yeah. I mean, I've got PDFs together, and there's just a couple things I need to tweak on the PDFs. So I'll have the PDFs ready for the printer by the time the campaign is done. So once the campaign is done, we'll figure out how many we're going to print. I'll get the samples, and then that'll be it. Then we'll order and start getting the books into people's hands. So that's one of the things I wanted to be able to do too, is hopefully give people a relatively shorter turnaround time. Get the books in their hands in a couple of months.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
That's also the reason why I wanted to show people like fully produced pages, so they can see the book is produced, including letters. all levels of production are complete.
Fantastic. Have you had a chance to go on a lot of streams to promote your book?
I have been very blessed in that regard. This is a great community. I love this community because people really, they open themselves up, and one of the things that I love, it's almost like a whole new comics economy has been built, because, whereas before, there were kind of us as the readers, we go to the shops and, there was a big, not a dotted line, but a very big kind of wall between readers and creators. That whole thing has been broken down because the way the economy works is, yeah, you got to create stuff, but if you are retweeting and sharing, you're a part of the economy. If you have a show, you're definitely a part of the economy. I don't do it all. Some people have shows and they're creating books, and that's awesome. For myself, I'm having to have the benefit of like going on shows of people like yourself. We're all trying to figure it out. I've got my day job, got my family. I want to keep making the books. I'm just not in a place right now where I think I could, do justice to A, having a show, and B, if I started a show today, I don't think anybody would hop on it. So, because that it's work. Everything in a good way, but everything good takes effort.
Oh yeah.
Everything good takes effort.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this, and you've been doing a great job with this. I know that you've really invested a lot in building your channel. I don't take that for granted at all.
It is a time sink, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, It's ComicsGate is what inspired me to get back into comics and got me excited again at the possibilities after seeing DC and Marvel go downhill over time.
Oh man, they jumped the shark, and then I guess all those analogies: jumped the shark, went downhill, all of that in like one fell swoop. It's crazy. But you know what? It's created an opportunity. It's created an opportunity for all of us. And I guess not just, like I said, it's not just the people making books. It's the people that have shows. Everything has become important now. So people are contributing in so many different ways. Some people are figuring out ways to, help with international shipping. There's so many different parts of the comic economy that different people are working out and figuring out. And it wouldn't have happened otherwise. This is just, this is kind of out of necessity. All these different folks are making things happen. And the thing is, believe you me, there's so much power in just retweeting and just sharing stuff. When I look at some of the statistics on my books, sometimes some of the biggest reasons people come in are people sharing. Like I was looking, I was like, man, if you know CG, Tampa, like Tampa, Frog G. Some of these guys, they share so much, and they have so many people that follow them when they share. It's impactful. Like they share, and then people buy. Mm-hmm. It's so. Everything is different now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just broke my heart early in the pandemic when Diamond closed, and was it both Marvel and DC or maybe it was just DC who said pencils down?
Oh man,
that was so bad. Everyone knew that the direction was going to be that they were going to do self-quarantine, and they were going to reduce the ability to go to work. You figure in all the industries that could thrive in that kind of environment where you're working from home, it would have to be comics, right?
Yeah.
and here they are, like literally giving up, and it's like they didn't even want to try. It was just so disheartening.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about that is, I think they miscalculated a lot of things. I think they, I think they were, as Anakin said, don't overestimate my power. Don't underestimate my power. I think they overestimated their own power. And they thought that, I don't know what they thought they were creating. I don't know if they thought they were going to create a demand that that was going to swell into something. But what they did was they created a void, and it was a void that's being filled. That's being filled.
Yeah.
And my feeling is at first I was like, I feel bad for comic shops, but comic shops have a way out. Look at what's going on in CG. Look at Alterna. Look at stuff. I mean, they have a way out of this if they're willing, to get on board with some of these these independent books that are being created. You just got to wake up to what's going on in the world.
No, for sure. For sure. COVID Kev says, massive respect for having the book done first.
Appreciate that, my brother. Thank you for supporting. Really appreciate that, Kev.
That's really huge. Yeah. Whenever possible, if you can get your book done before you go live, all the better, because it gives you that much more time to go on, go on shows, even start up your own YouTube channel, build an audience, and spend some of your free time, sitting in on other streamers, and getting to know the people in chat. That's pretty sweet.
I love that because I've been on some shows, but now I follow so many different streams, and I get into the chats in so many different streams, and I see so many folks like Eric, so many people that I know now. You're just like, this is really cool. I mean, this has become kind of the new con scene. Yes.
Eric's looking forward to this book so much. Magna, First Man, Ultra Star, and The Buckler are his most anticipated books right now.
Man, I am humbled to be in that list because those are some good books in that list. I appreciate that, brother.
All right, COVID Kev, backer 167, great looking book.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Kev. Appreciate that, man.
Very true, says what about DC and Marvel disrespecting their IPs, history, and fans created a vacuum that CG is filling. And I believe it was pretty much ordained.
Yeah. What they were doing. I think I don't know what they thought they were creating, but what they did was they created an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And CG is fully capitalized on it. And there's no going back. I mean, for me, I love the books that I grew up on, but those books aren't getting made anymore. So I mean, it's not out of venom that I don't buy Marvel and DC books anymore. It's just not the stuff that I like anymore. CG's making the stuff that I like.
Yes.
Real simple.
Same. Eric says, I can see John's method becoming more commonplace because a lot of us fans have been complaining a lot about the long turnaround times to get the books in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Dillard says, "Oh my God, when Tampa put my
put him in an ad with
the Kill Journal, Thomas Moria, and Fatal, I felt like I finally made it."
Seriously, man. I'm telling you, man. Tampa's pushing weight. That guy is, just as sweet as just nicest dude, but just his ads have so much weight, and he's just doing it out of love. That's okay. Not my monkeys, not my circus. I'm a bit tipsy.
Let's see. Hey, Black Star, how's it going? What's up? Yeah. And it's good to have you guys.
Wait.
Hey, Beyond Time. Welcome, everyone. Come Get Some just ended, and we stopped in. Oh, thank you so much.
What's going on, Black Star 13?
It's a Come Get Some raid. Sweet. That's awesome. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
I love how this community is so supportive of one another.
Yeah.
It's just so unbelievable. As corny as it sounds, it's like it fills your heart with joy.
But, I mean, isn't this though what the industry should be?
Yeah.
You
It should be about fun and escapism. Back to what it used to be.
Exactly. And you're like, at the end of the day, we're all creating stories and we're enjoying and reading stories that we want to read, you know, and it's real simple, you know, just vote with your dollars. If you like something, back it. If you don't, just keep stepping.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be a revolution. You know, not every book is for every person, you know, but allow people the creative freedom to make the things that they have on their heart to make, you know, because there is an audience, you know, there is an audience. And that's one of the things I'm enjoying about this. People are making books of all different kinds. I mean, whether it's biographical books like Charlie's London, or if it's, you know, superhero books like, you know, like this, or, you know, mashup books. I love making mashup books. You know, this is like, you know, a little bit of history in World War II. It's got some mythological elements to it. It's got, you know, and then stories like, you know, you got stories like The Buckler out there. You've got all kinds of stories. You've got a lot of horror books that are out there right now, and fantasy books. You know, just kind of get in where you fit in. You know, find the stuff you love and back it and show some people some love. You know, and to me, that's what this whole movement is about. That's what this whole, you know, comics renaissance is about right now. Is just enjoying and letting it be diverse.
Mm-hmm. Black Star, Skits Crew in the house. Sharing the love. Eric says, I was here, lol, sorry. Forgive me, sis. Happy New Year today. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I gotta
2021, my peeps.
Gotta make it happen. You can rewatch, Eric. Thanks for dropping the links, Frog G. Speaking of Frog G, yeah, huge promoter. Lots of respect. Last Pantheon, Volume 1. Skits, The Sun. Yeah, that's another book I'm excited about.
There's so much fire out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so much fire. And that's also the reason why there's so many great shows out there, because there's so much fire. You know, and it's just new. This has changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the beauty of it, you know, like I'm gonna have to go back and you know, catch, you know, come get some on the replay, but I can, you know, and that's the beauty of it. You know, it's like if you don't catch it live, you can still go watch, you can still go subscribe, you can still support, and all these things matter.
Yes, exactly.
You know, all these things matter. You know, I know that, okay, if I go, I check that out, I subscribe, I hit that like button, it all matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of this kind of machine that's working, but it's not like the old machine. You know, this is the new thing, and we're all a part of it. And I love that, man. I get fired up about it. I love it. I'm like, we're in the midst of the revolution right now. We're in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're part of it. Every single one of us. So cool.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Oh, there's my man Frog G. I told you.
Oh yeah. Black Star, respect on the name beyond time. That's what it's all about.
I'm into that.
Say that. Eric says, yeah, CG has it all. Superheroes, horror, psychological thrillers. That was one of the interesting things I found about CG. I've always leaned to being into superhero comics. But ever since I joined CG and started backing the books that I've been promoting, because I figured to a certain extent I'd be catching a lot of flack if I didn't start back the books I promoted.
Yeah.
Or the ones I really liked. So I guess I kind of went overboard in retrospect, because I'm at like 186 backings now in 1 year.
Okay, I thought I did a lot. Never mind. Because my wife was like, hey, what's going on? Because I basically I kind of left the comic book scene for a little while. Then with CG, I'm back with a fury. You know, I picked up like 60 books, which is nothing compared to what you picked up. But my wife's like, hey, what's going on, man? You know, we're gonna start having to have come to Jesus talks about about what you're buying here. I'm like, okay, I got you.
Yeah, but one of the funniest things is I've never been a heavy, I've never been really into a lot of horror or zombies and things like that. But a chunk of the books I've been supporting have been zombies and horror.
Me too, and it's kind of silly because I'll get scared. I remember the one and only time I read a Stephen King book. I read Christine, and that book is way scarier than the movie, by the way. I read the book in one sitting because I was too scared to go to sleep. So when I finished the book, the sun was coming up. I was scared. So I don't even know why I bought. I know why I bought these books because they look so good.
Yeah,
but I'm like, man, I'm buying these books, and oh Lord.
Welcome, Wolverine. Hey, WyzGyz and John.
Wolverine, what's going on, man?
I made it before you finished. Black Star says, we just had our books come in from Pillow Man and Blanket Boy and The Dark Knight by Crystal McGee. Come get some. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, Froggy G, feeling better? Eric's younger brother back skits the other day after I talked to him.
I just got my Pillow Man and Blanket Boy book too.
Oh, all right, nice.
Yeah,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I got that as well, and I think I actually received it a couple weeks ago. Eric's younger brother back skits the other day after he talked to him about it. He likes the art Michael creates. Yeah. Frog G feels fine. Joe Froggo is still on the mend, to my understanding. Yeah. Can't wait till everyone is back to their peak performance and all well and good.
I'll have to check out skits.
Oh man, that is such a cool looking campaign. Man, it's so surreal. There's this one piece. When you check it out, there's this one piece I just fell in love with. It's I'm pretty damn sure it's a literal painting, and it's like this ship floating in the sky. It's so sweet. Not my monkeys, not my circus says, you're a cool dude, I don't know, back when I am sober. Oh man. It's like you got to be careful because if you're exhausted and tired and you happen to be browsing eBay or something, you never know what you're going to order.
Yeah, you wake up the next day, you're like, what is this?
Yeah. It's kind of like when EVS was buying a monocle, and he, instead of buying one monocle valued at like $100, he bought 100 monocles or maybe 1,000 valued at $1 each.
There you go. Now we can open up a store. You can start slinging monocles.
Yeah. There's actually kind of like a fake campaign. Some monocles for Somalia. Yeah. Superhero and horror comics are my squeeze, says Eric. I'm starting to get into some of the cyberpunk stories, though. Yeah. That's a good point. There is a growing number of cyberpunk, and thanks to like Raging Golden Eagle and Kyung Lee and Carla Tornielli, we're starting to get some manga as well.
Yeah,
manga and anime.
Exactly, starting to get some of that. I've always been very much, just kind of like, American style comics, but I've backed a few manga looking books. Definitely backed Carla's book. I backed Galden too.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Looks good.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it? Black Star, horror comics are my jammy jam, and skits is my crazy jam. Eric says, speaking of horror books, I just got Shanu in the mail. Oh, cool. I actually backed the...
I don't even know Shanu. See?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's Graham Nolan, man.
What?
Hold on. This is pretty trippy. I like his style too. It's kind of reminiscent of that Snowman campaign that's from All Cap Comics.
Oh wow! Wow!
It's based on a historical event that happened many years ago. I think a couple of decades ago, where they had this huge snowstorm, and some people ended up missing by the time the storm passed. And he created a story like, what if there was actually a creature that came out of this whole storm, and he like hunted people.
Oh, that looks really good.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great use of color.
Yeah.
Black and white, kind of almost a little bit of the.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Kind of like the Sixth Sense kind of effect.
Yeah, he's offering a bookmark. It says, "You left off here." Yeah, sticker. A couple funny things about his campaign are. Oh wait, did he remove it? Well, you got the buy a gram of beer campaign. I mean, buy a gram of beer tier. So you can just give him $10 if you don't really need a book or whatever, or a piece of merch.
I'm always going to get the book. That's just
me too. Yeah, but he's got 32 beers.
So so he's got some libation going on. Good for him.
It looks like he removed the tier. Oh, he sold his original Chenu art. Cool. Yeah. There was he offered for a certain time a snow globe.
Oh, really?
So I got the Chenu snow globe. has
the little Chenu in there?
Oh, actually no.
It's just a snow globe.
That's kind of what I expected when I first heard about him offering one, but it turned out not to be. Let me see. Hold on a minute.
See it. See the snow globe.
Oh, you found it?
No, I'd like to see it though. If you got it.
Yeah. So it's a cover, right? Do you see it?
Okay, I see it.
And then on the back side is that one image of the house and the Chenu and the.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See, it's like you can put that use that at Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's like a scary ornament.
Yeah, so it came out pretty cool. I like it. I'm glad I backed that tier to get it while it was available.
See, and that comes down to, I mean, obviously a lot of people saw that campaign, but this is the reason why shows are so important. I mean, even that was my first time seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those it's one of those things where, even as a promoter, I have challenges finding all the newest talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I often rely on other promotional shows to get wind of up and coming creators who are releasing books.
Yeah.
Much love to WyzGyz, and catch us on Twitter. Let's kick it on a show together with skits. Yeah, I love that.
I would love that.
Yeah, the ships. WyzGyz love the ship. It's my favorite image out of the whole campaign. I just love it. It's like, oh man. I mean, it's easily so good that I can imagine having a full-on painting on a living room wall.
Yeah.
Thanks, WyzGyz. We love you. I love you too, man. And woman. Yeah, some monocles for Somalia. Yeah, I played that on one of my streams. I don't know if it was the Christmas or the New Year's stream, but I played the EVS's some monocles for Somalia ad, and I got copyright claims on it.
Are you serious?
Because of the little clip of music. But the problem is, it should, I believe, fall under fair use because he's doing a voiceover during the music. So it's like, what the frick? I think there was a little snippet where he wasn't talking, but I don't really know if that's even long enough for them to copyright claim it. So I'm thinking of disputing it still.
So that's how it works. Like if you're talking over it, it's okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be because you're commentating.
Okay.
So you're kind of changing the original piece, the original IP, to make it your own. You're morphing it, if you will, and you're like sort of providing feedback. You're commentating on it. Part of the tagline is 2020 by 2030. So it's like a campaign is, like the Live Aid and the We Are the World.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
It was this big old thing that was discussed on one of the EVS's streams, and they're talking, we should get a bunch of comic skaters together and sing a song similar to We Are the World. And
oh man,
yeah,
we'll get Wolverine on there. I think Wolverine and I still need to do a duo anyway.
Yeah, and an offer to send monocles to Somalia. Some monocles.
There you go.
Sing
to We Are the World.
Skid says, I know Wolverine. What the fuck? Oh, man. Eric says, the Chenoo is part of Native American mythos and is a man who was a cannibal who became cursed. Now eats human hearts in an attempt to regain its humanity.
That seems backwards. I'm just saying. That's not going to help.
Just saying. Wendigo by any other name.
Yeah, Wendigos are cannibals too.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Golly. The moral of the story, don't be a cannibal.
Yeah, don't be a cannibal at all.
Eat more chicken.
Yes, there you go.
Eat burgers too. They're good.
Thanks, Chad. We got to run. Come get some. Take it easy. Thanks for stopping by. Always great to have you. See us, Skits Crew. Have a great evening. Hail. Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Yeah, so let's check out these tiers real quick. So you got your feature tier, which I always love. I love when creators have the feature tier. It's kind of a little mix of what you're offering in terms of the book and the merch. It's the way I put it is the best bang for your buck. It's not the cheapest tier, it's not the most expensive, but you get a whole lot of good stuff. So this feature tier is it pronounced Marcio Ambreu?
Yeah, Abreu.
Ambreu commission.
You can say Abreu or Abreu.
So you get a 6 5/8 inch by 10 1/8 inch paperback copy.
That's just the book. So you get a copy of the book. Choose from one of the 3 covers, but you also get an 8 by 10 bust drawing, bust up drawing of any character of your choosing. So if it's a character of your own creation, you can just give Marcio references, or if you want, like here, he did Red Sonja. So any character of your choosing, and it's a cool perk, and he priced it very reasonably. So for the $115, you'll get the commission and the comic. Yeah. So,
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I love getting. Well, obviously, I want the comic. So yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you can get a little something extra too.
Right. Exactly.
And there's 3 of those. 3 of those remain. He was willing to do 10 of them. So.
Right. And then we've got the next one, which is Magna Digital.
Yeah.
Wow. I usually don't see a whole lot of interest in the digital version on campaigns, but you got 35 people interested.
Yeah, yeah. I think at the end of the day, I wanted to make the book available to anyone that wanted to back in any way possible. I know that these aren't the easiest times, so I know there's some folks that want to get the book, but just finances aren't allowing. And also, I think the other thing that's amazing with CG that I love, and it's opened up a whole international world. So surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, a number of folks from Australia, a number of folks from UK that have been interested in the book, but the shipping is more expensive than the book. So I get it,
Wow.
I get it.
That's the craziest thing, how much shipping costs.
Yeah. But I think there's some other folks in the community that are starting to figure out some solutions. And I think we're going to start seeing those. I know there's some solutions coming internationally to the US, but I think they got to start figuring out some solutions for those of us that are shipping in particular to the UK and Australia, in particular. There seem to be a good number of CGers in those areas.
Yes. It's a growing, those are growing groups indeed.
Yeah.
Like some people, creators from creators internationally are starting to team up, and like they'll I think what they're trying to do is get the books printed, have half the shipment delivered like by pallets or crates to a local person in the US, and then
they break it down, and
the other half goes to like the UK or to Australia based on what the backer numbers reflect.
Yeah.
Then from there, then they just do the local distribution that way through their local postal systems to cut down on costs. And then we've also got some people like John Malin who are actually, well, All Caps Comics by EVS is now getting into the publishing business where, they'll help with fulfillment and stuff too.
Right.
So that's pretty sweet. It's definitely growing. Eric says digital copies make it easy to make video reviews as well. That's a good point. I never thought of that. I like that more creators are offering it now. Yeah, I'm kind of torn when it comes to digital. I'm not particularly a fan of it myself. I know it saves money, but I'm old school and I like to smell and touch and see the paper,
Yeah.
And the weird thing, I know I'm not the only one, but the weird thing is, like, even if someone sent me a digital version of the comic, odds are I'm probably not going to read it because I don't like the interface of digital comics. I don't like having to scroll or swipe or tap or,
Yeah.
Maybe it would be.
That's because we're old, man. And I'm like you. I want to hold the book, but my kids, everything they read is digital. Hey, speaking of which, I'm gonna leave my kids outside.
Let them freeze.
Yeah, they're fine. They're kids. They're resilient. But like for instance, my kids, they're all about digital.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I mean, they don't mind that experience. They
Yeah,
don't
I
mind,
grew up with that. Yeah. I mean, I grew up with technology, but I also grew up in a time when physical floppies were still available or still very common in the rage.
Yeah. Oh, I love the physical books. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Wolverine says it's opened up a whole new international market who are all internationally confined to their houses. I have to wonder how big a boom we've had because of COVID.
See, it's not all bad.
Yeah. That, when COVID happened and the pandemic and the self quarantines, and CG was starting to become gain traction, I knew there was something special because there's no freaking way you shouldn't be able to make comic books creation successful.
Yeah.
In a time where people are stuck at home.
Exactly. No, I agree completely.
On one hand, not the best times financially. On the other, people are fucking bored. Yeah, and then add
Facts.
to it,
Just facts.
the lame, mediocre content that Hollywood's spitting out, and it doesn't help their cause. That's for sure. I would imagine that since you need to prepare the PDF files for the printer anyway, that offering a PDF of the comic wouldn't require much. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's as I think some creators phrased it, is gravy. It's just extra. You're going to be creating it anyway, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not offer it? Nothing beats having the book in our hands. Yep.
I agree with that.
Digital will inevitably be more common. Possibly. I mean, oh man. I mean, I would think if digital were really going to take off, then it would have overtaken the market by now, and people would have fallen in love with it. I mean, they've got the Comicsology and all those books, and it's like, I guess part of what the problem is they're trying to charge off-the-shelf pricing for a digital version.
Yeah, there's no discount, and that doesn't make sense. There's no shipping cost. I mean, the price, I get it. You got to cover production, but you don't have shipping, you don't have printing. So, the pricing shouldn't be the same. But you know what? Also, I think it's a generational thing. I don't think, there's a good chance my preferences will never change, but we're actually starting to see younger folks, and I'm really seeing that through CG, younger folks coming in. I'm seeing younger creators. And as a result, we'll also be seeing younger buyers that are coming in, and they may have more of a proclivity to buying the digital as opposed to buying the physical. I don't know what that'll look like, or maybe not, or maybe their income, maybe they'll want to start getting the books too. I don't know, But we have a number of creators that are in their early 20s that are making books, and I like that, because I'm like, look, if we've got creators in our early 20s, then we've got readers too that are younger. Yeah. That's what we want. We want the market, to grow from an age perspective. I'm glad about the geographical growth that we have now, being able to sell anywhere, but we also want to expand it so that younger folks are reading books as well as us folks that already know the goodness of comics.
Yes, absolutely. Well put. I agree too. I have no use for a PDF of a comic myself, but some people do. But give me a comic in my hands. Yep. It's like what happens with music.
Yeah.
It's like digital.
Darn youths.
There's a guy that is 15 and launched a campaign.
Yes.
He goes on Pete Samedi show pretty often.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, there are a number of young creators. It's kind of mind blowing. It's pretty impressive that they've got the drive to make it happen, and it's respectable. I really like it.
Totally.
Let's see here.
I think it's a good thing for the market. I mean,
for sure.
I know there's been so much, complaint, especially by the big two about the market aging out and all this kind of stuff. But the difference is when I was a kid, comics were good, so you want to read them. But now comics suck. So what do you think? Kids gonna see that and they're gonna be like, comics suck. No, just these comics suck. Other comics like ours are awesome.
Hail the youngin.
Those youngins.
Yo, what up? I'm back. Who's your guest?
Appreciate that. Thanks, John.
Let's catch this trailer once more.
Welcome to Tree City, Idaho. The year is 1942. Spring is in the air, but times are tense as the world finds itself at war. While high school senior Kari Skogsholm finds her provincial life unfulfilling, Her parents are eager to keep their lives and, most importantly, their extraordinary daughter under the radar as long as they can. But time is not on their side. They prepare to flee to protect Kari, but something within her compels her to stay and take a stand. It's time to learn truths that have been kept from her, be it out of love or fear or something else. It's time to answer the calling upon her life, whatever that may be. So her journey begins, and things will never be the same. But Kari's story finds its roots millennia prior. The men of renown, known as the sons of God, and the daughters of men in the first and second heavens, joined with raised arms one last time, combining all the power that they had to command. In the heavens, above the world, the last stand of these mighty men was also the last appearance of the agents of destruction, until their reemergence in 1942. Kari must learn the truth about herself, determine the endgame of these supernatural agents of destruction, and how to stop them before all is lost. Yes, sir. That's actually a shout out to my buddy Scott Thrill. He's actually the one that made the music. You can find him at Scott Thrill on Twitter. So, I mean, if somebody needs some beats for their campaign or whatever project, he's a great dude, great resource.
Awesome.
Then you can have some beats just for your own project.
Cool. Yeah, so we've got the graphic novel Torque cover number 1. Then you've got graphic novel Torque cover number 2.
Yep.
Graphic novel Viera cover.
Yeah, so the first 2 covers were by Elizabeth Torque. The third cover is by her brother, Eduardo Vieira.
Man, brother sister team?
Yeah, and they both have skills like that.
Man, that's so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I think my favorites are this one because of the angle and the shot.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then this one because angle.
Angle and shot.
Oh my god!
You know what Wayman likes.
Yeah. So then you get the print trifecta.
Yes, sir.
55. Yeah, this is really affordable. And then we've got the graphic novel trifecta.
You get all 3 of the with all 3 covers.
And you get the Magna double trifecta. And
so the double trifectas, you get each of the 3 comic books, the graphic novels, plus you get the 3 prints.
Cool. And then you've got the Rod Super Looper commission.
I'm really surprised no one's taken Rod up on this. I mean, for those of you that back Black Tiger, you know he is an amazing artist. And he's doing a full body black and white commission of any character of your choosing, plus you get a book. So you get a book plus an amazing commission from my man Rod Super Looper.
Yeah, that's seriously dope. Yeah, that's an awesome tier and very affordable. Is reasonable, definitely. And you already sold out on the other tier.
Well, that was a special tier. I'll tell you the story behind this. So one of the backers from Tel Aviv, and he backed. I think he backed where he gets a commission in a book.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also wanted to get the other 2 books. But as an add-on, it would be the add-on plus all of the shipping to Tel Aviv. So I had to cut him something. I just made something special there, so like he didn't get swallowed up by too much shipping.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that's cool. It looks like a play on To Sir with Love, or I think there was also a 007 movie.
Yeah, that's where I got that idea from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so everybody back this book. So 65, 65. Oh, that's a cool number.
Yeah.
65, 65 for 163 backers.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Appreciate that, my folks.
and you went up to 65, 85, and you're at
For-
165 backers.
I like that even better.
13, 17%. Woo!
Woohoo! Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate that. You guys are awesome.
Fantastic, fantastic. Right on. Like Donkey Kong. Wolverine says, I have some issue when you get too young. There's something to be said, I think, about jumping in too deep before you're ready, but maybe I'm just old and crotchety.
No, I can see what he's saying. I mean, you know, part of it is having experience, whether it's in writing stories or just with, creating, So there's definitely a value, to having been around the block a little bit.
Yeah. Look at those cheeks.
That's right. That's right.
Who's the midget next to Magna?
Oh man, that is a Dvalin. So he is a dwarf that makes magical items.
Nice.
Yeah.
A little bit of funk in that music.
Yeah, Wolvie.
Wolverine grabbed the first cover.
Mm-hmm. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, To Russia with Love.
Yep, there you go.
Indeed, indeed. I'm going to give you the floor here. And would you share with the world how you can be found on social media?
All right. So you can find me at Beyond Time Inc., at Beyond Time INC on Twitter. Also, that's my YouTube channel, and on Instagram. So hit me up. I'm also very much, involved in backing other people's projects as well. So, I like to see what other folks have going on as well. There's so much talent in this community, and I know there's going to be a lot more books coming out in this year in 2021. There's never been a better time to be an independent creator. So if you've got that story in you, now's the time to get it out there.
All right. Awesome. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube under WyzGyz Entertainment, on Twitch under Wise Twitches, on Twitter under Wise Tweets, and like, comment, and subscribe. Mark the bell for notifications. Indicate that you want all notifications. Hopefully you don't miss a single video or stream. But based on the algorithm, you probably will. I do a lot of my promotion through Twitter and Facebook. So that's where you'll see a lot of my updates on when I'm going live.
Is that you, Wayman, or is that me?
You mean the like?
Well, there's a possibility that I just took over his show.
Wah, 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 wah.
Let me see.
I can still hear you. I can still hear you and see you. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. Can everyone still hear and see me? Because John just dropped. Welcome, Fade. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. All right. Could hear him after his cam froze, but now he's dropped. Oh, okay. I never saw it freeze. Oh, all right. Yes, you're still here. All right, cool. I'm guessing he's gonna. No. I'm guessing he's gonna still pop on real quick. Well, I don't know. I guess it doesn't necessarily matter since we just are closing up anyway. Let me see. Oh. Ew. Huh. Humana. Yeah. You came at a funny time. Yeah, I was just closing. We were just closing out. And then John's cam froze. And I could still hear and see him, but he apparently couldn't see me. And I guess on his screen, I got dropped off. So I guess we can just close this out. I'm about to start another stream. We're going to have Mark for Grave Robbers on next. So I think I'll just give John a heads up that I'm going to just close out. Oops. All right. Beep, 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 beep. All right. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, mark the bell for notifications. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your favorite part of Magna. And let us know what you're looking forward to. Again, I'm going to be on with promoting Grave Robbers next. So feel free to hang around if you like. Thank you so very much. Thank you to everyone in chat. You guys are awesome, and you guys help make it happen. Thanks for those who were able to back the campaign today. That was pretty sweet. Thanks to everyone who watches this on replay, and thanks to our very special guest, John Hervey of Beyond Time. Laters.
Final guest that is the only person below White Holiday in the ComicsGate F.A.M.I.L.Y. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sammetti. The YouTube WyzGyz. How you doing, Conrad? Welcome to the show.